All right, guys, Graham, Jason Matthews here back. We're sitting down with an exclusive interview here today with the owner, the president, the mastermind, whatever you want to call him, Michael Lombardi, the head of Northeast Wrestling. Michael, welcome to the show. How you doing today?
Hello, Graham. Thanks for having me.
It's perfect timing, too, because you got a great show coming up, Brass City Brawl in Waterbury on Friday, the first major appearance outside of AEW, not counting New Japan, of Jon Moxley. Then you guys got a show on Saturday in New Jersey at Six Flags. It's a pretty busy time for N.E.W. right now.
It seems like this entire year, almost the last 24 years, it's been busy for Northeast Wrestling. We have one of the most aggressive schedules of any company in the country, including some companies that have television. So I would say, without a doubt, we are probably busiest and run more shows than any other non-televised wrestling company, and we do run some more shows than some televised wrestling companies. So we're always busy. There's a lot of demand for Northeast Wrestling, although the name is Northeast Wrestling, and we've been in business for over 24 years. There's other areas of the country that wants N.E.W. So we're not just held right here into the Northeast. We have shows coming up in North Carolina, Ohio, West Virginia, etc. So we're going to be doing some casinos in Oklahoma. So a lot of fans of N.E.W. all throughout the country. And really, when it comes to looking at our streaming numbers and where people watch N.E.W. and the merchandise and the DVDs that they purchase, and even our weekly website statistics, where people from all over the world are visiting Northeast Wrestling, or fans of Northeast Wrestling.
And it's super cool to see, too, because for me as a fan, I've been going to the shows now for, close to a decade, and I would always check out the Connecticut ones. Obviously, like you said, the ones in Bethany, Waterbury, Danbury seem to be the most popular destinations. But you guys have really branched out to other parts of the country over the last 24 years, and you guys have started to run a lot more shows, too. Like you said, a lot of shows coming up this summer. When would you say that process really began to kind of expand outside of the Northeast?
I said once we started our Wrestling Under the Stars tour baseball stadiums, almost patterned after Jim Crockett Promotions, the NWA, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, and the Great American Bash, where they went on tour in the summer. 8 years ago, we started doing some minor league baseball stadiums, and with the success of those events, there's been baseball teams and baseball stadiums throughout the country that wanted to bring Northeast Wrestling there. Even before that, for about the last maybe 15, 20 years, we also provide wrestlers to appear at minor league baseball and any other minor league sports games, whether throw out the first pitch, sign autographs, meet the fans, etc. So we had a lot of relationships with minor league baseball teams when it came to appearances. And then when we started running the events at baseball stadiums, and with great success, other teams had jumped on board and wanted to have us. I guess when you start off with our first ever Wrestling Under the Stars at Dutchess Stadium, Wappingers Falls, New York, 8 years ago, when we had Hulk Hogan appear, and it was the last time that Hulk Hogan and Roddy Piper were ever face-to-face in a ring, doing an in-ring promo, 25 minutes. It was history there. There was over 4,800 people in that baseball stadium. We have Hogan and Roddy Piper, and we had everybody from Lita and Goldust and, who else? Let me see, Vader and Jerry the King Lawler, etc. It was a huge event. But when you have Roddy Piper and Hulk Hogan face-to-face, that really started off the Wrestling Under the Stars concept or tour, really off on the right foot.
And I think that was a big turning point for you guys, too, because I remember when you guys had that show, I was unable to attend it, but I remember people talking about it. I saw Hulk Hogan promoting it. I know Matt Hardy was doing a lot of shows for you guys around that point, too, and he was talking about it as well. But it seems to be now, like, Northeast Wrestling, it was, like, kind of like the best-kept secret here in, like, the Northeast area. But now, like, a lot of companies, and not just a lot of companies, but a lot of fans know of Northeast Wrestling outside of the Northeast. Obviously, your streaming service has a lot to do with that. But it seems like a lot of people know of N.E.W. and matches like Kenny Omega and Phoenix, which you guys hosted late last year, have a lot to do with that because people kind of know of N.E.W. through stuff like that as well.
We have been blessed to be the home or maybe the creator of many dream matches.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to the entire Northeast, not a secret, on average, without a doubt, the largest drawing non-television company in the country, and we outdraw a lot of television companies. That's through the relationships that we have built over the years, and the superstars that we were able to use. You brought up Kenny Omega, Ray Phoenix, dream match, first time ever, Poughkeepsie, New York, last November. We live streamed that on the Northeast Wrestling Network and High Spots a wrestling network, and we had fans from all over the world that that watched this both live and they watched it after, and they watched the replay. When you have someone as polarizing as Kenny Omega, probably at the time and even now one of the most popular and greatest wrestlers in the world, and he's able to wrestle Ray Phoenix in a dream match, everybody was on board with that. We also had Darby Allin against Pentagon Jr., first time ever match. We, before Ring of Honor, had the Young Bucks against the Hardys, which they said was a dream match. In 2014, we had them compete twice. It was the first time ever the Hardys against the Young Bucks, and we did that twice. Whether it was Kevin Steen or Kevin Owens' last match before he went to NXT and went to WWE, we have it against Jerry the King Lawler, in a pile driver match. We have Jon Moxley coming up, a bunch of first-time ever matches. He's going to be taking on Darby Allin in Waterbury, Connecticut, coming up this Friday, June the 14th. We also have Jon Moxley taking on Pentagon Jr., Poughkeepsie, New York, on August 16th. And we have some other cool matches with John, with some other superstars that he's going to be wrestling for the first time ever, too, that we have not announced yet, but we're going to be announcing, in the next week or so. So between that, last time Hulk Hogan and Roddy Piper in a ring together, we started the three-match series with Kurt Angle and Cody Rhodes. They had a match at Wrestling of the Stars. I believe it was Wrestling of the Stars 5. And then it all culminated in Waterbury, Connecticut, in front of a turnaway crowd. There were 3,500 people in attendance, and we probably turned away, the police estimated, at least another 1,000. We had a steel cage match with Cody Rhodes against Kurt Angle, and that really opened up a lot of eyes for both us and the wrestling world on Cody Rhodes when he left WWE, to show the drawing power and the magnitude and the popularity of someone like Cody, a non-televised company, and Kurt and Cody very easily could have drawn 5,000 fans or over with no TV, which outdraws there's a lot of towns, a lot of house shows that WWE would be happy to have 5,000 people, and most other companies in the country, if they could, they could do that. So we've been very blessed with being able to host those matches and provide those for the wrestling fan.
Well, you mentioned right there the crowds are only getting bigger and bigger with every single show. And we talked last week about doing this interview, and you mentioned that you guys aren't an independent, you're Northeast Wrestling, which is completely accurate. So what makes Northeast Wrestling different from all the other promotions out there? Like you said, Ring of Honor, there's other indies here in the Northeast, but Northeast Wrestling is kind of one-of-a-kind company. What makes you guys, in addition to all the dream matches that are provided, different from all the other companies, whether it be a WWE or like some other small independent out there or whatever?
Well, we say that Northeast Wrestling, I guess in a way we are an independent because we do have good relationships with, all of the big companies, so we're able to use, we view stars on our event from whether it's Jushin Liger, et cetera, from New Japan, and we have a great relationship with WWE and AEW and, and even Ring of Honor. A lot of their stars that you see now, and a lot of their stars that they used to work for Ring of Honor and have moved on. They've started and come through Northeast Wrestling. But actually, it was probably about 10 or 12 years ago where we had a matchup, Scranton, Pennsylvania, 3,500 plus people at a college there, and we had Kurt Angle against Christian, and I believe it was Kurt Angle that coined the phrase, and Christian concurred and said, you're not an independent. I guess I believe there's someone from the media there, local newspaper, that asked him about it, and Kurt said, they're not an independent, they're just Northeast Wrestling. Being able to do the things that we do, the name by itself is able to stand on its own.
And one of the parts of that, too, one of the cool catchphrases of N.E.W. is that you guys are not sports entertainment, you guys are entertaining pro wrestling, which is a great way to put it, because every time you go to a show, whether it's, a kid, teenager, older person, adult, whatever it might be, it doesn't matter the demographic. People always go to these shows to have a fun time. It seems to be a great place for the fans and the wrestlers to connect. Of course, you guys have the autograph signings beforehand to kind of break down that barrier between the talent and the fans. Is fun, I guess, might be a good word to use here. It seems to be like fun is a recurring theme with these shows. Is that one of the factors that you consider when producing these shows and stuff like that to kind of make it different from everything else out there?
We want to make it all-inclusive, where fans, they can come to the shows beforehand, have a meet and greet, they get to meet the superstars, get autographs, photo ops, shake their hand, etc. Then you have the wrestling matches. We were one of the companies that pioneered that concept for years. There was always the autograph session, or being able to meet the stars. It was a lot smaller. It was usually during intermission. Just our crowds became so big, and so many of the fans wanted to get autographs and take pictures with the stars. You couldn't do it during intermission because it would just lengthen the amount of time between the first and the second half of the show, where it ended up taking away from the show, and it extended, the duration of the show and how long the evening was, that we put it, before the show. And that's one thing, you come out to Northeast Wrestling, we have a Wrestling of the Stars tour that is coming up, this summer. We're going to be in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia, and Niles, Ohio, and we're going to be debuting outside of Pittsburgh on July 19th, in Norwich, Connecticut, and Poughkeepsie, New York. You name it, you can come on out and you can meet the hottest wrestler in the world right now. Jon Moxley beforehand. You can you can take a picture with him. You can get an autograph. You can shake a hand. You can, and ask him a question. And being able to have people like Pentagon and Phoenix and Jon Moxley and Jerry the King Lawler and Mark Henry and Dustin Rhodes Goldust and Renee Young and Kurt Angle and Billy Gunn. I mean, just there's so many stars that we're that we're going to be. L.A. Park, Bully Ray. There's going to be so many people on the upcoming shows that it's I think it's an exciting time to be a wrestling fan. Not just if you're a wrestling fan of, N.E.W., I know this, this interview is about N.E.W., but also with the AEW. My God, All Elite Wrestling burst on the scene. I was out there in, Vegas, helping out on StarCast. I was, there at AEW and just, the things that they're doing, with Jericho and Omega, and of course, Jon Moxley and the Bucks and Hangman Page, and I mean the match against Cody Rhodes and Dustin Rhodes. When we talk about Northeast Wrestling, we're not sports entertainment. We're entertaining pro wrestling. That is the type of style that that we like to have. It's just we do not want to insult the fans' intelligence when they come to a show. They want to see good matches. They want to see great athletes. They want to see good storylines, things that make sense. They want to see winners and losers, and that's what we give. And then, the wrestlers, the big name stars, they work hard, and the fans always get more than their money's worth.
And you mentioned All Elite Wrestling. It's a great time to be a fan right now between the abundance of shows that you guys are running here in the Northeast. AEW starting to get off the ground, and they just obviously had Double or Nothing a few short weeks ago in Vegas. While there, I saw Man Scout Jake Manning. He was at StarCast. I saw Brian Anthony walking around, which was super cool. You mentioned that you were working with StarCast too, which is really cool. Do you guys have yet to have a formal working agreement with AEW, or is it just kind of a case-by-case basis at the moment?
So, AEW, they asked to use some of our footage for some of their video packages at Double or Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Some of their episodes, The Road to Double or Nothing. We have, there's Fyter Fest coming up June 29th in Daytona. Cody Rhodes, watching footage from Northeast Wrestling Redemption of Darby Allin against Pentagon. Cody asked if they could use that footage, and we said yes. Cody and I go way back. I used to be the manager and the agent of his dad, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, very close to Cody, former Northeast Wrestling champion, close to Dustin, their mom, the entire, Reynolds family. So anything that Cody, Tony Khan, anybody needs from myself, Northeast Wrestling, we're there.
Mm-hmm. And with Cody Rhodes, too, you mentioned him. He left WWE just a little over 3 years ago, now running one of the most successful non-WWE shows in recent years with Double or Nothing in Vegas a few short weeks ago, as they mentioned. It was almost immediately after his WWE release that one of his first shows outside of WWE would be with you guys, Northeast Wrestling, against Kurt Angle, the aforementioned show, against, I think it was the Wrestling Under the Stars tour, like you mentioned, in August of 2016, and then going on to become N.E.W. champion a short time later, working a lot of shows with you guys for the better part of 2017, and I was there for a lot of those shows. He worked a lot of dream matches I think a lot of people aren't aware of during that point in time, facing a Flip Gordon, Adam Cole before he went to NXT that summer. He faced Ricochet before he went to WWE the following January. So Cody Rhodes doing a lot of shows for you guys, but it doesn't just seem like Cody Rhodes. It's like it's not an isolated person. There's a lot of people who leave there. You mentioned earlier Jon Moxley, of course, working a lot of shows with you guys this summer. Cody Rhodes, Jon Moxley, Ryback went straight to N.E.W. Soon after he left WWE. In your opinion, what makes N.E.W. such a hot spot for a lot of people that are either leaving there or other promotions and just kind of want to enjoy themselves and be bonded by the passion for pro wrestling, or other people that are looking to make their way to WWE or Ring of Honor or other companies like that?
Blessed by relationships that I have built over the last 20 or so years. When people hear, it started way back, that you are the manager and the agent from someone like one of the greatest superstars in the history of the business, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, and working closely with and helping book and doing business with one of my greatest friends in the world, Jerry the King Lawler, and my relationship with the late Rowdy Piper, etc. When the superstars saw that, and then you booked Hulk Hogan, and a very good relationship with Matt and Jeff Hardy. They were on a ton of shows, and Rey Mysterio. He only did maybe a handful of other than if it was in Mexico or overseas, any shows anywhere unless it was Northeast Wrestling. We had Rey Mysterio ended up becoming almost a regular on our events. it just worked out that way with, when you do good things, when you have big crowds, when you're professional and you do good business, people want to work with you.
And Chris Jericho being another one. I know he did an autograph signing with you guys a few short years ago, I believe in New York, in Fishkill, if I'm not mistaken. And I remember...
Yeah, we've worked with Chris a number of times on, different autograph signings at wrestling events going back some years before that. Also had Chris and Fozzy for a couple of appearances in different places, before some of their concerts. So, a lot of respect and good relationship with Chris Jericho. We were bringing up Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle, really outside of WWE, and when he worked for Impact Wrestling, he wasn't wrestling anywhere else in the United States. And he's wrestled for us, where they wrestled Cody a few times. He wrestled. We had him with Samoa Joe. He wrestled Christian, etc. So I guess when you have relationships like that. And then, when it came from Jon Moxley, to do a lot of work with Renee Young when it comes to autograph signings, conventions, etc., where, she works for us and not so much, anyone else. And, the Renee relationship came from working closely and doing a lot of business with Corey Graves, and asked about, he's working with Renee also, and Corey Graves and different people in WWE sing the praises of myself and N.E.W. to Renee, and that helped in booking Jon Moxley. And it kind of goes, if you do things the right way and you build relationships, it'll pay off in the end, not just for us, but for all the wrestling fans, for being able to meet these superstars and see, these unique matchups.
Yeah, and it's super cool, like I said, because you guys are able to land so many big names between people currently in WWE with Renee Young, Corey Graves, Jerry Lawler being another, Booker T being another regular on your shows with the autograph signings. The word gets out there. I remember, like I said, during the Jericho event that he appeared at a few years ago, I think maybe a month or so later, he had a podcast out with Cody Rhodes, and they recorded it, I believe, at your show, and they mentioned you on the show, which was awesome. They mentioned you by name, which was really cool to see. And you were also on an episode of Being the Elite, I think about a year ago, or a few months ago, when Cody Rhodes and Hangman made an appearance at one of your shows just a few short months ago as well.
Yeah, Cody and Hangman, they showed up as surprise guests. It was a show of ours in Waterbury, Connecticut, and they taped a lot of footage there for Being the Elite. And we have good relationships with a lot of the superstars, and we're blessed with that. We do not take that for granted. We always do the best we can, taking care of them and taking care of the fans. And who knows, it will hopefully in a short time build to even bigger and better things for both myself professionally and for N.E.W.
And you mentioned the relationships there. Do you think right now, with the world of wrestling being as diverse as it is, there's a lot of alternatives if people aren't really liking what they're seeing with WWE? There is Ring of Honor, AEW, of course, Impact, and plenty other promotions. Do you think more companies such as N.E.W. would benefit from working with other companies? Like you said, you maintain a lot of great relationships with WWE, Ring of Honor, AEW. Do you think other companies could benefit from working well with each other too?
I think they can, although with the changing of the landscape right now, I don't know if that is going to be able to continue once AEW starts on TNT, and then when they're rocking and rolling weekly with live TV. The landscape of wrestling is going to change again. Cody and the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega and Hangman, they wanted to change the world, and they've already changed the world between, All In and Double or Nothing, and now they're going to be, live primetime cable TV, TNT. I think right now the world of wrestling is changing so rapidly day to day. Who knows where we'll be in a couple months from now?
Yeah, it could be drastically different between now and June and September when, like you said, AEW arrives on TNT. And the cool thing, again, about N.E.W. with all the people that you guys bring in, they're not one-shots either. It's not like Jon Moxley is just going to be in Waterbury on the 14th. He's going to be there on the 15th in New Jersey at Six Flags. He's working the Poughkeepsie show in August to face Pentagon Jr. and many other dream matches, you said, that have yet to be announced. Do you think a lot of these people keep coming back to N.E.W. because of, again, the passion that they have for pro wrestling and just being able to go out there and have fun and just kind of being given the freedom to kind of be who they are and do what they want and stuff like that?
Yeah, I believe so. We, I guess what we do is we lay out the canvas, we lay out the paint, we may have some suggestions, but we let the artist paint their portrait.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're unable to do that, WWE or some other places because of the way the system is set up. But here we go out of our way to make sure that the fans get the best product that they possibly can, and we only book those superstars that want to do the same thing. And everybody that we use, whether it's a new up-and-comer or it's worldwide superstars, whether it be a Rey Mysterio, a Jon Moxley, a Kenny Omega, Cody Rhodes, whoever it is, they all want to do the same thing. They want to, give the fans more than their money's worth. They want to work hard, and they all have pride in their craft. And it gives them an opportunity to go out there and, give the best matches and the best product that they can.
And you mentioned too, Michael, about the earlier matchups that you mentioned with, obviously Darby Allin and Jon Moxley coming up, Pentagon Jr. and Jon Moxley. As a fan yourself, do you think being a fan as a promoter helps immensely in booking these dream matches? Because not only do the fans want to see them, but you yourself want to see these matches come to life. Do you think that really helps with the fan interest in these matches coming to fruition, I guess?
Well, being a promoter or being a executive producer of an event, along with wanting to put on, these matchups, it's a little bit that I would like to see them. It's a little bit that the superstars would like to have the opportunity to compete against each other. And also it's, to sell tickets. We're going to put on matches that sell tickets and that draw money. So that's the reason why we are in the business. That's the reason why any other wrestling company is in the business, any other sports franchise, any business. You need to make money. You need to be able to pay the stars, and this is what we do for a living. In Northeast Wrestling, along with the big name stars, I have probably the greatest employees and support staff. Everyone that works hard for Northeast Wrestling. This is not just one-man band here. I have a great team, and I have an obligation. We need to do the best business that we can, put on the best matches for the fans that'll draw the most fans, because I help supplement all of their income. It helps them, pay their bills and take care of their families. So, there's that other obligation there that maybe some fans don't see. When you're running a company, there's a lot of different aspects, to it.
And there's a lot of people, not only just in WWE right now, but AEW, Ring of Honor, that have at any one point or another appeared for Northeast Wrestling, whether it be a one-shot or have made multiple appearances. But there's also a lot of wrestlers who not only appeared for you guys, but got their start in N.E.W. I know there was a point many, many years ago, Cedric Alexander, who's currently in WWE, worked a lot of shows with you guys. Of course, Matt Taven probably being the biggest example, being a regular with N.E.W. for such a long time, is now the current Ring of Honor World Champion. Mike Bennett, Mike Kanellis, currently in WWE, another former N.E.W. champion on the 205 Live brand. Who do you think is the greatest homegrown talent to come out of N.E.W.?
I would have to say Matt Taven. Matt Taven, he was young. He was working on the ring crew. Started, giving him some matches. I saw the desire, the athleticism, the heart, the passion. In Matt Taven. This is many years ago. He had some matchups. He was starting, whether it was wrestling Big Daddy V or some other veterans, and just starting to get some experience, and I just saw that little something in him. And I said, I know that there will be no limits for this guy, and that this guy could be a star. So I guess you could say, I strapped a rocket to his back. I would do anything that I could, to help him get to where he needed to be. But, Matt Taven, homegrown, big fan of N.E.W. Over the years has helped out in an administrative capacity also, not just in the ring. And, maybe the greatest N.E.W. champion of all time, him, Cody. We also have, Brian Anthony. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of people out there. Flip Gordon has 6 months in the business. I saw him and I said, you know what? He's going to be the next great N.E.W. star. And, then he's going to go off and do his thing. And, Flip Gordon, wrestling all over the world, worldwide, Ring of Honor, big star. TK O'Ryan, Vinny Marseglia, guys that, Guy Jack, Warbeard Hansen, different people that may have, trained some places, but they came to N.E.W. We gave them the opportunity. We put the spotlight on them. Because we were N.E.W., a lot of different eyes were on them. We were able to put them in the ring with, different people like, the Hardys, the AJ Styles, etc. It helped them get better. It got eyes on them, and, thankfully then they were able to sign, some contracts with national companies and, and move on.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I mean, Matt Taven, like you said, the entire kingdom in Ring of Honor came out of Northeast Wrestling. And the cool thing about it is that for every big star that you guys have, Matt Taven, Brian Anthony, who of course is still working shows with you guys, Flip Gordon, the former champion, Jake Hager, the former Jack Swagger, now an MMA star and a WWE World Champion, a former N.E.W. champion. And for all of those people that have held the title and then moved on, you guys continue to build up-and-coming talent for people to still come and see at the shows and meet and become fans of and become familiar with before they start branching out and doing more shows and stuff like that, which is great to see. But Matt Taven, Chris Jericho, Hulk Hogan, AJ Styles, like you mentioned, Kenny Omega, Pentagon Jr., they've all appeared for N.E.W. at one point or another.
Mick Foley, mm-hmm. Booker T, Lita, Goldust, Jeff Hardy, Vader, Jake Roberts, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, the first ever Northeast Wrestling champion was Bam Bam Bigelow. Mm-hmm. Some of our first shows when you were able to do this, you were able to use WWF stars at the time of their days off. Chris Candido and Sonny, King Kong Bundy, Ahmed Johnson when he was Intercontinental Champion, was on the event. Nova ended up being Supernova. Simon Dean, used him in his, in his early years before he moved on to, ECW and the WWF. Whether it's them, like Christian, Kurt Angle, Sergeant Slaughter, over the years, the list goes on and on.
And Daniel Bryan being another one. When he was gone from WWE for a short while, I think in 2010, he also made a few appearances for you guys. Another dream match that came to life in N.E.W., Daniel Bryan and Shelton Benjamin. I think it was Waterbury like 9 or 10 years ago, which was really cool to see live. But yeah, it's a who's list of who's appeared for N.E.W. So you mentioned all those people. Is there anyone out there on your bucket list that you would love to land at some point to make an appearance or to wrestle for you guys, whatever the case may be, at an N.E.W. show?
There's so many. I don't know if I could, if I could name just one. I mean, here Hangman Page, we used him when he was young. I mean, we used the Young Bucks how many times, and just trying to go through. Now that we're talking here, and you said like the Adam Coles and the Ricochets and the Keith Lees, and I don't know. There was just someone that just went through my mind that I forgot it's just a quite prominent superstar, but hopefully, Houston Thunder Liger reviews. So, I don't know. I don't know if there's just one.
Well, also, too, I mean, there's a lot of people still coming up again for everyone. For those who have been going to the N.E.W. shows for a long time now, you would think, okay, they got Kurt Angle, can't get any better than this, and then Jon Moxley shows up, and then this person shows up, and that person shows up. Cody Rhodes, obviously, again, did a lot of shows for you guys in the last few years, and even Enzo and Cass, you guys just announced that on, last week on the 5th, on Wednesday, that they'll be appearing at the Six Flags show in New Jersey, so there are another 2 names that have never been in N.E.W. that'll be making their debuts just next week, or this coming weekend.
The train just keeps moving. We have a lot of things going on. We have a lot of shows all over the country. A lot of requests by fans and sponsors for certain superstars that contact us, trying to see how they can get into Northeast Wrestling and work for us. And although we do have a lot of superstars and big name stars that we use on a regular basis, the fans also want to see a variety, so we try to do the best we can to add some different names and give them some variety.
And if there was any one name that you would love to land at some point for an N.E.W. show, who do you think it would be?
Whichever wrestler could get us the largest crowd and make us the most money. So no,
that's a good answer.
Of course, if we could, just through, I don't know if I can name just one. There's certain people that we would like for many different reasons. Hey, would you like to have Brock Lesnar? Would you like to have someone like an Undertaker or John Cena?
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Even though that's not possible, contractually, etc. Because of the crowds that they would draw. But I would say when it comes to personal relationships, it would be to have Cody Rhodes one more time. Kind of being so close to him. Although with AEW, they're moving their way, and who knows with AEW what the future would hold for myself and N.E.W. And then Matt Taven being able to work, maybe work one more time. Probably one of the greatest rivalries in N.E.W. history was Matt Taven against Brian Anthony. So from a personal standpoint, to have those guys either work as a tag team or work each other one-on-one, one last time, that's something that I think could be, that I know would be very special to me, very special to a lot of the fans. Some fans that are reading this article or that are listening to this may not know Brian Anthony's worked for Northeast Wrestling for over 10 years. He's had the opportunity to move on and sign contracts with some other, some national companies. But, outside of wrestling, good job, great benefits, married, and at those times, having that other job and different things in the security, it kind of held, kept him there rather than signing somewhere else. But you'll never see a harder worker, a better wrestler, and somebody that's as talented and well-rounded as, Brian Anthony, whether it's having matches with David Arquette that, fans enjoy or blown away with. He's wrestled everybody from, Jeff Hardy, Matt Hardy, Jerry the King Lawler, David Arquette, Cody Rhodes. You can go, up and down the line, and, Rey Mysterio, etc. Everybody that's faced him, they were like, man, how are you not, how are you not signed, and praise how good, Brian Anthony is. So he's one guy that probably deserved that national break and that shot, and just be, the timing just wasn't, just wasn't right for him, with some of the other different things that he had, going on in his personal life.
And you never know what you're going to see in N.E.W. Brian Anthony is going to be in action at the Waterbury show against Keith Youngblood. He's always involved in exciting things on these shows. Like you said, Cody Rhodes and Hangman Page showing up at a show just a few short months ago when absolutely nobody expected it. The place went nuts. So at these N.E.W. shows, you never know what you're going to get. But one or two more questions for you. You kind of mentioned earlier things you'd like to continue to grow upon professionally with N.E.W. and personally and stuff like that. Are there any specific goals that you've set that you're aiming to achieve with N.E.W. in the years to come, or just continue growing in general?
Continue growing in general and just see what opportunities there may be for N.E.W. Both by itself, possibly, either merging with another company. There's just so many things going on right now that maybe can't even speak about. There's a lot of moving pieces. A lot of different companies, a lot of things going on in the wrestling world right now. But what we're concentrated on right now is, especially in the months of June, July, and August, one of our most aggressive schedules of all time. We're going to be running in 8 different states at that time, major arenas, minor league baseball stadiums, etc. Having guys like Jon Moxley and the Lucha Brothers and L.A. Park, and Darby Allin and Bully Ray and Dustin Rhodes and Jerry Lawler, and like you said, Enzo and Kaz and Booker T and Mick Foley and Rhino. I mean, sorry if I forget to mention some people. It's just right now we're just looking to put on the best shows that we can, and having the biggest crowds that we can for the next 3 months, and just and kick butt, as we're going along and giving the fans the best that we can.
A lot of great shows coming up in the next couple of months. Definitely coming to a place near the listeners, readers, whether it be in the Northeast. You guys are going to Ohio in a few short months, which will be awesome as well. Final question for you, though. Let's say that we have a wrestling fan here. Sorry, go ahead.
Also, if anybody wants to know where Northeast Wrestling is, purchase tickets, more information on Twitter at N.E.W. Wrestling 1, Instagram, Northeast Wrestling, northeastwrestling.com, the website.
And you guys are all over the place. Sign up for the newsletter, too. I get the emails all the time about what shows are coming up, who's appearing on the shows. You guys almost, I think the next day after Jon Moxley showed up at Double or Nothing, the very next morning, you guys sent out the press release, I guess, that he would be coming to N.E.W. I mean, I know you were going to be waiting until June 1st to reveal it, but jumped the gun and revealed it the very next day after his AEW debut.
Well, 3 or 4 weeks before then, we were set. We had, Jon Moxley set.
Wow.
But when a very good friend of mine in AEW contacted me and said, Michael, can you hold off on Jon announcing him, please, until after Double or Nothing? Of course we complied. So we put out June 1st as a date when we would announce the mystery superstar as a throw it off. Because if we said it was May 26th that we would announce the mystery superstar, and it was the day after Double or Nothing, it could have conceivably, possibly given some things away or had people speculating, etc. So, and Jon Moxley, you can't make a better, more impactful debut than he did at the end of Double or Nothing. I mean, Jon Moxley is the hottest superstar in wrestling right now. Between that, winning the IWGP New Japan United States Championship yesterday from James Robinson, to have Jon Moxley on these shows, it's going to be very exciting for Northeast Wrestling, very exciting for the fans. If you have the opportunity to see him live, if you saw how intense he was, in his match where he won the IWGP US title and at Double or Nothing, when you see Jon Moxley in action, it's going to be wild. You're going to get your money's worth. And, we have the opponent set up for him, whether it's Darby Allin, Pentagon Jr., and some other people that we're going to be announcing, very shortly. Those are matches you are not going to want to miss.
And did that come together almost immediately after he left WWE earlier on in the month of May, late April?
We came to an agreement with him a few weeks before he was announced.
Wow, unbelievable! That's super cool.
Right after his WWE contract lapsed, because obviously you can't negotiate with anybody when they're under contract. We talked to him, and we were able to come to an agreement. He knew Northeast Wrestling. His wife, N.E.W, worked for us many times, signing autographs, appearing at conventions, Northeast Wrestling events, etc. So that, that helped make the marriage and the relationship between us and, Jon.
And I can tell you, as soon as the news broke, I think it was online soon after the news was announced, it almost broke Twitter as soon as it was announced that not only the Darby Allin match, but the Pentagon Jr. match, which has been a dream match for many for a long time now, you guys are bringing it to life in Poughkeepsie in August. It's going to be amazing. But let's say you have one fan who's never been to anything but, let's say, a WWE show, and has never been before to an N.E.W. show. What do you tell that person, whether they're a kid, teenager, again, adult, older person, whatever it might be, to sell them on coming to N.E.W. and convincing them, and it's unlike anything else they've ever been to before?
You're able to meet the superstars before the event at the meet and greet, and you're going to see the matchups, and the best way to promote and to put over N.E.W. is by having them speak to other fans about N.E.W. When you have events like the Kenny Omega against Ray Phoenix, Mid-Hudson Civic Center, Poughkeepsie, New York, first time ever, streamed, iPay-per-view live, throughout the world. And, thanks to Flip Gordon and Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks for speaking to Kenny Omega when we contacted him and letting him know that, hey, N.E.W. Michael Lombardi, that's someone that you want to do business with. He didn't work for anyone else. He worked for us. And, New Japan, and then he went to AEW. So thank those guys, and we're very blessed to have the opportunity to have Kenny Omega. And, when you have people coming over from the UK and people coming from Japan and people coming from Canada to New York to watch that match and to sell that out and, turn, hundreds of people away, and having people come from 13 different states, hopefully that's enough to, tell a wrestling fan to give us a shot, give us the opportunity, look at the superstars that, we were able to, be blessed and have on our events. Between that and word of mouth from other wrestling fans that have come to N.E.W., that's probably the best way to promote our product.
And now's the perfect time to be a wrestling fan, like you said earlier, not just to be a wrestling fan, but a Northeast wrestling fan. Ton of shows coming up. Brass City Brawl, Friday the 14th in June, Waterbury, Connecticut. Jon Moxley is on the bill. He's going to be at Jackson, New Jersey, Six Flags Slam Fest, that's a tongue twister, on the 15th, New Jersey, going to be great. N.E.W. Live, you guys have your regular shows at the Bethany Town Hall, which is great too. Wrestling Under the Stars tour then kicks off for July through August, Moxley making more appearances, and many, many more names. Rhino, who's leaving WWE soon, will be appearing for you guys. Dustin Rhodes, the former Goldust, is going to be there. Teddy Long, Boogeyman, Renee Young, you name them, they're going to be there. It's going to be a great time. You mentioned earlier, Michael, you guys are all over Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You guys have the streaming service, so if you weren't able to make it to the show to see Kenny Omega versus Phoenix, or even Cody Rhodes versus Kurt Angle versus from a few years ago, you could check it out on High Spots, Pivot Share. You guys are all over the place. So anything else, Michael, before we wrap it up here?
That's it. I just want to thank you very much for the interview, and for your time and the publicity, and thank all the wrestling fans and all of the superstars that have supported, Northeast Wrestling over the years, and only the best has yet to come.
Awesome. Very much looking forward to it. Like I said, I've been a fan now of you guys for close to a decade. Try to go all the shows that I can, and looking forward to the Brass City Brawl show on Friday. So again, thanks, Michael, for your time and for all the shows and for making the magic happen with N.E.W. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you very much. Speak to you soon.